waited all winter for this.
It's the biggest race we have all year long.
The icons of this sport have all starred on its biggest stage.
It's the great American race. Trust me.
I won the Daytona 500. I won the Daytona 500.
Pull them belts tight one last time, boys. Light the fire.
Big push coming now for Harvick. Oh, and around goes a couple cars. Priest upside down. He's barrel rolling through the grass.
You got plenty of money. Don't need that to keep racing. Is it worth the risk to keep on going?
Sure, to win.
Welcome to the Bump and Run podcast. I'm your host, Michael DOI, joined by my two best friends, Matt, the Statman Reilly, and Eric, Daytona Ron. Hope you guys had a great weekend. Hope you guys had yourselves Denny Hamlin type of weekend. It feels wrong giving him the air horn and whatnot after he stole that one from Martin Truex Jr. last night. But make sure you like, share, subscribe. Podcast available on all platforms every Monday night. Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and more. And on YouTube, you can see our pretty faces. Fellas, how you guys doing? How's your weekend? How's your Easter? Happy Easter. Happy April 1st. Welcome to the Corey LaJoy Appreciation Podcast.
April Fools.
April Fools. What's up, guys? How was your Easter and your weekends?
It was good. Sitting here feeling, a little tired, bloated, and feeling a little rundown from that Easter Sunday eating fest and drinking fest that, most people do around this time of year. And man, it was a rough one on the old body this weekend.
Yeah.
So, you go from eating good, at least I try to, I don't splurge. So, when the holidays come around, man, do I get real beat up hard the 2 days after, because you're not used to just hammering it down all the meats and cheeses and whatnot. And, washing it down with the beers on top. As Matt knows, he did the same thing this weekend too. So, I think we're all in the same boat. Little Easter got the best of us, I think.
Yeah, you go to work all bloated. You feel like a wounded bear that just rolled out of a cave somewhere. Your face is a mess for some reason. How are you, Matt? Feeling the same?
Yeah, man. Yeah. So yeah, all that with Eric too. I try to eat relatively clean, any normal week. Weekends we cut loose a little bit more, but the holidays, it's almost like I tell myself I'm gonna eat until I am physically sick for no reason, right? Like why do I do that? Because I feel like garbage today. My wife's a teacher, so she had off today. So I was like about 2 weeks ago, I was like, you know what? Haven't used any vacation days this year. I'm going to burn one, give myself a 3-day weekend. It's a night race, so I can actually, crack a few open, enjoy the evening. And I didn't factor in like all the salty meats that I was going to eat yesterday. And then, a dozen beers on top of it. I'm hurting today. I
was in the same boat. I had today off too. It was a scheduled day. We shut the warehouse down and, yeah, you don't realize all the sodium you're taking in. And you know what killed me? My mother gave me a ring of kielbasa. So at I don't know, right around near the end of that race, I was feeling a little peckish, like you do. You're drinking a couple beers and it's Sunday, but it's really a Saturday night. So I was cutting that ring of kielbasa up and middle of the night woke up all with the meat sweats and a little itchy because I can feel my blood pressure, too much sodium. I don't know if you guys ever get the sodium itchiness, where I was like, man, I just need to drink a bottle of water right now, probably drink.
Oh, I've been there before. I'm pretty sure Matt was with me as well at my hunting cabin. The one guy, PJ, his father made us this, I don't know if it was a pork roast or something.
It was the best thing that's ever touched these lips.
It was so good. And we were so drunk from drinking all day long that the three of us, me, Matt, and Shrey, my cousin, listener of the show, Shredder, we were just digging in the pot with our hands and just eating this meat. And I don't know, it was like a Mississippi pot roast or something. It was just cooked in so much butter and onion, and they had put the pepperoncinis in it. Oh, it was so good, and we just could not stop eating it. So yes, I know exactly where you're coming from, white man. I do.
I want that.
You don't know. You don't know
the
life of luxury until you're hand pulling porchetta out of a crock pot and feeding it into your mouth. We look like Wolverines.
I wish I could have experienced that. There's nothing like
I rolled off the bunk bed that night.
Speaking
8 feet in the air to the ground quickly. That porchetta shot out of me and hit the ceiling.
That'll wake you up real quick. Speaking of rolling, though, we had some cars rolling on track all weekend long. A lot of racing to talk about. But first, do you guys want to jump into the NASCAR news? Don't have a whole lot to talk about, but a couple stories I thought were pretty interesting. So late last week, a lot of people were talking about the Long Beach Grand Prix. Apparently, one of the owners, I guess it was 50-50 split between these two guys. He had passed away. So there's a lot of interest in F1, NASCAR, whether IndyCar will keep the Long Beach Grand Prix, seeing if another series could buy that race and use them, or at least rent it. I'm not exactly sure. I didn't realize someone could own an event like that. But apparently NASCAR is off the table. It's staying in IndyCar. The other partial owner is buying the other 50% stake from the guy who passed away's estate. So IndyCar keeping the Long Beach Grand Prix. I know NASCAR was eyeing it up because they want to get back into Southern California. And like we said a couple weeks ago, still no update on Fontana and Auto Club out there. So we'll see what happens with that short track. It looks like they've removed most of the track except for that front stretch area, which was part of the plan to keep. So we'll see if they start building this year.
Was Chicago up after?
I think Chicago is
2-year, 3-year deal.
I think it's a 3-year deal.
Yep.
So yeah, it'll return this year, and then next year should be the last year of the deal.
Well, no, they would be.
Because last year was the first street race, and then this will be the second. Next year will be the third.
Yeah. I thought, why did I think there was another man?
Yeah.
Time weird.
Time's flying by.
Salty meats, man.
Oh yeah, it'll.
Because I thought for some reason they were going to pull out after 2. I knew it was for 3, but I thought there were words of like the mayor didn't like it, and then they were going to like rescind it and pull it back and like say, oh, maybe we'll review it after 2 years and see if you'll come back for the third or something like that. Am I crazy?
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, no, that happened. I think they worked a deal with Chicago to give them more money because I guess they weren't happy with the split last time. So now NASCAR has to pay like an additional couple $1 million for like the street crews and whatnot. But no, we should be going back next year too. And then let's see. Another piece I thought was pretty interesting. A sinkhole unearthed the rumored Moonshine Cave at North Wilkesboro Speedway. I don't know if you saw the pictures of that, but they have concrete grandstands, and I guess a piece broke away and opened up to show this giant open area that people think was used for moonshine back in the day. Of course, it's where NASCAR gets its roots, and Wilkes County, big moonshining county back in the day, apparently. And then Denny Hamlin said he wants to drive for 23XI at some point, but expects to finish his full-time career at Joe Gibbs Racing. I just thought that was interesting. What do you think? What do you think about Denny eventually running for his own team?
Makes sense. You know what I mean? I think that's. I don't even know if we can even file that as news because I think all of us kind of assumed that was probably going to be the case anyway at some point. So yeah, it makes sense.
I thought the most interesting part, so when I read the article, he says the cars are there. The cars are just as fast as Joe Gibbs' cars. It's about finding a pit crew. He needs to find a good third pit crew for that team, which I think a lot of people are really struggling to find good
tell me about it.
Pit road.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pit crews are hard to start on your own. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Well, then you look at established pit crews like that 4-car too, and you're getting 15-second pit stops at the end of races. It's pit. I don't know. They have to have. I mean, we've talked about this before. I don't want to get into the weeds. Go back into previous episodes, but like some sort of pit crew training school where teams could really like honestly develop them, and like I think that's what they need instead of plucking them from, or they don't even pluck them from the truck series. They just send them down there. I mean, I don't know. There's got to be some sort of developmental program, I think, to help the sport out a little bit more. There's got to be a better answer than what they're currently doing.
You know what I thought was interesting? So, every week they highlight the pit crews lately, and I can't remember if it was Chase Elliott's pit crew, because they highlighted his at one point.
Last night they did that, yeah.
Or if it was another one, because I think they highlighted two different pit crews last night. But one of the guys came over from the IndyCar world, which I thought was interesting. It's like, those guys have the most experience with that single lug. You would think NASCAR would be trying to poach some of those guys over, and maybe they have, and we're just not aware of it because really they don't talk about pit crews all that often. But I thought that it was just something I noticed during the race yesterday. I thought it was pretty interesting.
I think it's interesting that Denny's willing to come out and say, like, hey, I don't have the best pit crews right now. Like, it's interesting to think, like, what are those guys thinking when they hear that? Or is it, maybe a shot in the ass that they need?
Could be just like, hey, like, get your shit together, kind of, you need to work harder, or it's just, realistic. I'm sure those pit crew guys, they look at their times and stuff. They see the errors.
I know, right. They have to know.
Like even you look at Bubba Wallace, 23-11 yesterday, had a great day up until getting into the back of Kyle Larson, causing that late caution. But he was running in the top 5, top 10 all day long. And then that final pit cycle, they didn't get one of the lugs tight. And it ended up being like a 16-second pit stop, put him back in the pack. I think he finished like 13th or 15th, something like that. I'm not exactly sure. But like that just goes to show you how crucial those pit crews are, especially on that money stop, that last one, And then
I think a lot of these guys know, coming from the background of sports, like when they screw up and they know when they're on and when they're off. And I think, like Whitey, like you said, I think they're kind of realistic about the fact that they're new, that they're just trying to mesh together. And just like football terms, an offensive line, if you keep mixing those pieces in and out and they never play as a full cohesive unit week after week together, you're never going to have these awesome fast pit stops. Like, you need to know what the next guy is doing, how that guy moves, and how this guy moves the hose, or how quick this guy does this. Or you kind of develop that relationship amongst the team. And, until you do it enough and pit enough with those same guys and work that so-called like chemistry out, I think it's going to be tough. And everybody has mistakes. Everybody, nobody's perfect, but when it comes to the pit crew, man, you have to be perfect. Yeah. Like there is, like, it's almost to a point where like you don't want to say it or stress it or put that much pressure on somebody, but in all reality, that is a thing where like you have to be damn near perfect, or else you're done for. Especially for how close these cars are. In the next gen era, like speed wise, pit road is means more now than ever. Pit road, I mean, essentially, and we'll talk about the end of the race later on, but pit road essentially won that race for Denny yesterday. Yeah. At least put him in position anyway. Put him in position and jump the restart. And, before that, with about 60 to go in that pit cycle too, got him out to the lead. So pit stops are as important as what's going on the track in my mind. And the thing is, they just keep getting quicker and quicker and quicker, where we're seeing like 9:23, like could you imagine, like 9 seconds is just absolutely insanity to me, so all the props to these guys. I'm sure it's like got to be like gut wrenching when you have like an 11-second stop. And you're like, man, that 1.5 seconds, like I fucked it up, like, I don't know. Even some of the guys like waiting for fuel and everything, where like that strategy really comes into place. So I thought it was pretty interesting. I thought that's what made this race interesting. But that's all I have for NASCAR news. So let's jump into the race weekend. We saw an Xfinity Series race where Chandler Smith led twice for 76 laps, getting the win. Did you guys get to see any of the Xfinity Series race on Saturday? Yeah, I got to see. I want to say most of it. I got to see most of it. I didn't get to see it, but I think you guys were talking about it being really good because you were worried that Sunday wouldn't live up to the Xfinity Series race.
Typically, when we get really good trucks and Xfinity races, it's usually a doomsday scenario for the NASCAR, for the Cup Series boys. But in my mind, that wasn't the case this weekend. We'll get to that. But yeah, I did. I just every week we go through this where it takes me a little bit like, wait, did I see the Xfinity race? Oh, yeah, I did. Because Sunday is just, whatever you do Saturday night, and then Sunday's a blur, especially with the holiday, you're running around. But yeah, I got to see the Xfinity race. Can't really pull much from it, but I do remember saying that it was a good race.
It was kind of similar to Sunday in the fact where it was strategy, and in the fact that a Toyota, Eric Almirola in the 20 led damn near almost the whole thing, and then blew it at the end like Truex did. So it kind of actually mirrored itself in the end. But no, there were good races. There were good battles in between too. A lot of names I'm seeing in the Xfinity that we've been seeing in ARCA from years back, like the Corey Himes, the Chandler Smiths. Now they're getting their shot and they're running well in that series too. So the Xfinity race was fun to watch. It was nothing spectacular, but strategy race. So you just know how that's going to go.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to see it. I was most interested though. I know Bubba Pollard was running the race for.
He ran well.
Yes, he ran really well.
Did he?
Yes, he did. Yeah.
Top 10, top 5. I think
Top 10.
the top 5 was all Toyotas, right? It was mostly like Gibbs
he
cars.
came in 8th or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. It was
really
definitely
good
top
race.
10 though.
Yeah.
Nice. Hopefully we see him come back and get a couple more opportunities with Junior Motorsports. And then the Cup race, we saw Denny Hamlin. He only led twice for 17 laps, but he led the most important one, and that was the last one after that late race restart. We saw 5 cautions for 54 laps, 16 lead changes among 7 different drivers. Fellas, what did you think about the Richmond race? I think we're all pretty close in agreement, but let's start with Daytona Ron with his race grade for the week.
All right. With everything considered as a whole, I gave it a B+. But I would definitely consider moving it up to an A status if, you change a few things about it. A being the debacle of NASCAR in the beginning with the tires and all of that. Yeah. And, the pit stops and the pausing and the delaying. It's like, you might as well just delay the whole race then and just put them on slicks and started the race and had a normal full race. Yeah. So that, and then the call at the end, blatant, they said they reviewed it. I don't know what they were looking at. So you take those out of it. I think that is an A strategy race all day long. And I think we saw one of the best Richmond races we've seen in a very, very long time. But I think overall, you got to consider it happened. The stuff happened. You can't just ignore that it wasn't there. You can't say this and that. Yeah. I give it a B+.
All right, I get it. I understand. I kind of disagree about the beginning of the race, but I'll get into that during my checkers. How about you, Matt? What was your race grade?
I'm pretty much lockstep and key there with Eric. Only I was up just like a shifted up grade a little bit. I wanted so badly to give that race an A+, but everything that Eric just said, I couldn't. I gave it an A. Still, again, just like Eric said, best Richmond race that I could think of in a very long time. I do disagree a little bit with the beginning of the race. I liked the idea of starting on the wets, only because that probably saved us about 30 minutes to 45 minutes of sitting around time. The part that I didn't like is the non-competitive pit stops. It's just like, dude, we're racing.
That's mostly what I'm talking about. I like that they started it on the rain tires. That's great. But in all reality, they said it only saved 17 minutes. So in really, what did it do? I don't know, but I'm glad. I did like to see that. The racing was weird. It was wild. It wasn't normal Richmond. You didn't see the racing was fine in stage 1. I get that. They got the race moving. There was no spray. That is fine. It was what ensued after. So you basically canceled out the rain tire. Like, why did you even do that to begin with if you were going to pause it and delay these caution laps so long to dry pit road anyway? Right. Like it's in a road course. Are you going to dry pit road? No, you're wet tires. Like, I don't know. To me, it was like they kind of they took 2 steps back once they did it. Like, let the teams decide when to put the
wets versus dries on,
the wet versus the dries on. Like, let the teams decide when to come in, and like, don't just I don't know. To me, the non-competitive, just like, if anything, they could have just said, okay, pit road speed's 25 miles an hour now during rain. You know what I mean? But I just, Matt, that's that whole decision in there contradicted the whole starting it early thing to begin with, where the flow of the race was destroyed in the beginning of that.
It down
So,
because
Eric,
of it.
that's, you just hit on the part that I was about to get to. Let the teams decide when they're going to switch it over. Dude, if the fucking 24 team or the whoever team wants to run on those wet tires until the third stage of the race, then let them do it. Like, that's part of being the competitive. Like, let them make the decisions. This is the highest level of motorsports you get. Like, let them figure it out. Don't be told, like, hey, you got to take those wets off and put the dries on now. Like, we got conspiracy theory alert here.
We got tinfoil hat.
What if Goodyear made that call because the racing was going to be half decent with them? Because when was the last time we had the wet tires on? The racing was actually decent with those tires.
That's true, you know. Whatchamacallit? But they let them make the choice during road courses too. So I don't understand why the difference with the short track.
That's my point. It's the officiating. They're not sticking to what they do. This time it's this, and the next time it's that, and then it's like I don't know.
NASCAR oversteps, man. Like they over police is probably a better way to say it, is because like, let them make the decisions. Again, this is the highest level of motorsports. If somebody thinks it's an advantage to stay on 20 laps longer on their wets, then let them do that.
Let them burn them up.
That's where we start getting these different strategies. That's where we immediately would have started to see like an amazing race play out. But anyway, I do agree with Eric on that. And then, once they switched to dries, the race was somewhere around okay to solid all the way up until the last stage. I thought the last stage was great.
Yeah.
You had the 11 moving up the field. You had different pit strategies. You had side-by-side passing. The 5 beat out the 19. The 19 was clearly the best car all day. You had the 4, who is probably the second best car all day, have a shitty pit stop that brought him back. And then there was is he going to be able to get all the way back up to the front like he did early in the race? There was kind of that looming on. And then we just had that shitty caution with 2 to go. And, then the 11 so very clearly jumped the restart. NASCAR decided to ignore that. And, Denny was awarded the win because of that. And so, Martin Truex, he blew it. He should have, his pit crew should have got him out first. At the end of the day, it can come back to that. You got to point at yourself first. But he was pissed off. He was pissed off at Larson. He was pissed off at Denny. He was pissed off the whole situation. And I don't blame him. But I don't know. I would have really liked to see a different outcome of that race, but it is what it is.
Yeah, it's really disappointing to see the fastest car lose like that, Because
stage 3 might have arguably been one of the most up and down, like, emotional stages in a long time because, like, everything was riding on that. You know what I mean? So, like you said, pit road penalty, that took some guy's strategy away.
Yep.
This took that guy's strategy. Caution. So everything, it really did unfold in that last stage like it's supposed to. Like, these type of races are like a flower when it's blooming. You know what I mean? It starts out and it just, as it's going, as it's blooming, and then when it finally blossoms at the end is when you get the race to run all the way through.
Yeah.
We didn't have a fully blossomed flower.
You know what happened?
It got clipped right at the end.
You know what happened?
It's a shame in those type of races when you don't get that ending to go full green like that. It's just,
what else sucks too? Take my fandom of Marty out of it. Like, I had money on him too. I was 2 laps away from getting like a double. My guy wins the race and I make some money off the deal. And here's Larson spinning because Bubba got into him. And it's like, I knew right there that Martin wasn't winning the race.
Yeah.
Start to show me that. I just knew
just because it's Martin and he's just known this happens to him. He is the number 1 driver that I know since I'm watching the sport that just he doesn't close at the end. He's the opposite of Harvick in the closer. He's the I blow it, and it's a shame because a lot of the times it's out of his control. It's something in the back, and it just like, oh my, you feel terrible for him. You really do, because it happens to him more often, I think, than anybody else, you know?
It really does. He has some horrible luck late in races like that too.
And not just like late in races, like dominating the full race.
Yeah, he dominated the whole entire day, and then just like what happens was he had that beautiful little flower in your front yard, and then little shit Denny Hamlin on his bike comes over and just runs it over just for the hell of it, and like keeps on riding his bike, you know? But all of that stuff is also kind of why I also gave it an A. And it was an A, but it was ruined by a missed call, because I do think NASCAR really screwed up that call. But I thought it was a great race. Each stage gave me something different too. So we talked about, early on stage 1, there was an interesting aspect with the wet weather tires. I agree with you. I didn't like that they stopped down and had so many caution laps and then tried to dry pit road. I kind of liked better that they had the non-competitive pit stop first to check tire wear and everything. And then they saw like, oh, tire wear is not bad. Like we can make it another so many laps or whatever. I think that's when they should have just let the teams kind of figure it out for themselves. Now, at the same time, though, we don't really know what pit road looked like, what kind of wet conditions there were. Like
there were puddles on that son of a bitch. So when they were rolling off, I was like, oh man, like I looked at my wife, I'm like, there's puddles on pit road right now.
So I'm just assuming that's because of safety and whatnot. And like even now thinking about where it's like, oh well, they let them make that decision at road courses and stuff. Well, you have a good like minute and a half to hit the jet dryers up and down pit road before you have to get them off, just in case guys want to pit. So I mean, I don't even know if they do that though. I don't know how the process is with like a live pit road and trying to get it dry. But I do agree. It kind of did throw off a little bit with that first stage. Second stage I thought was super interesting. Guys are trying 1-stop strategies. Other guys are trying 2-stop strategies. Now we ended up seeing a caution and kind of threw it all away with that Kyle Busch caution, which I'm still not exactly sure what the hell happened with his car in that one. I don't know. Did
they show that? I tried looking and finding that.
So
I could not find it.
No, they did. They showed him he whacked the wall. It looks like he had a tire go down, or like he blew a brake, like a brake rotor exploded, and then he smashed the wall. But then he kept going, and his tires were all up, his brakes were fine. So I don't know what really happened to make him hit that wall. But I mean, I think NASCAR called the caution just a little too early on that one. But the way the car looked like, it washed right up the track into the wall. It looked like something had broken. So I kind of understand NASCAR calling that one. But it did. It threw off all those different strategies, kind of killed the second stage for me. And then the third stage, we saw a completely different strategy where Christopher Bell was the only one trying to split it evenly in thirds. Everyone else was, short pitting a little bit. Some guys were trying to go a little longer. Would have loved to see what happened with him. But then, of course, pit road speeding penalty kind of screwed up that strategy. And I was really interested, too, with Logano, trying to hunt him down. It was Logano. Denny Hamlin was hunting him down with a couple laps, fresher tires. But I really don't think anyone had anything for Martin Truex Jr. at the end. I don't think either of those guys were going to catch up. I think Logano, right before that caution came out, he was 0.6 seconds behind. And I didn't think he was going to make it up in 2 laps and be able to complete a pass. So Martin Truex Jr. really just getting robbed on that one. But all in all, especially for a Richmond race, like I know a couple of weeks ago we graded it on the Phoenix scale. I'm just grading this one as a regular A race. It just so happens to be an A at Richmond. I didn't even grade it on the Richmond scale. I just thought it was fantastic altogether. Are you guys taking into this being a Richmond race into the great score too? Because I thought it was just an awesome race all around.
I thought it was an awesome race all around. I mean, yeah, it actually does help that it's Richmond and, behind Phoenix, probably the second most track that we shit on this podcast. I enjoyed everything I saw, man. I thought the weather conditions were going to set up perfectly for a snooze fest. I was worried about that. Yeah. And I was proven wrong. The other thing too is like I was watching that weather all day, and I was like, I don't think I don't know. I just don't know if we're going to get this in. It was literally a 50-50 kind of deal all day. Like we might or we might not. And I'm happy that we were able to get the race in. That's the other thing. And I think in the back of they never mentioned weather. So I guess it was cleared out of the area by the time the race had gotten going there. But I thought are these guys racing against weather too? So I don't know. I thoroughly enjoyed that race yesterday.
Yeah, I thought the racing was good. I just think that we get one or two of these races a year where NASCAR puts themselves in this situation because they set it out that they know that these are strategy races and they pay attention to how fast they throw a caution out at a certain racetrack versus another racetrack. Because true. Guess what? They know that if you throw a caution at just some ordinary racetrack, not a big deal, perfectly fine. But in a race like this, they know you throw a random caution. Why do you think you don't see phantom cautions anymore? They were getting pissed about it because it ruins people's entire days. And I just think when NASCAR threw that caution for the 8 car, I think they buried themselves for that caution at the end with the 5 car, because a lot of people were saying that they could have just let that go too, knowing that, he just has to get back to that start finish line and that race is over. He never hit the wall. He kept going too. And it was just like NASCAR had to throw the caution there. If they didn't throw it for Kyle Busch, then you could have looked back and said, well, see, we didn't call it for Kyle Busch. We let it play out because we don't want to ruin someone's 50-lap strategy that they're on for some weird questionable caution, So it's like, knowing that they know that and they still did what they did on Sunday just tells me that there's still people in that booth that are knee-jerk reacting to certain instances on the racetrack. And this guy's willing to do it at this racetrack, but whoever's in the booth at this one is more lackadaisical about it. I don't know. It just seems like they're not consistent in that angle of it either.
I also wanted to say too, just because I enjoyed this, I still think that Richmond needs one race a year. Just wanted to throw that out there. I still think Richmond only needs one race a year.
Agreed.
No, we don't need a second race. We don't need a Richmond race in the playoffs or anything. No, and I don't think this race is even
going to get this next time around. I can almost guarantee it.
Yeah, I think now too we just kind of know what to expect and know what to look for in Richmond, because this has been the trend the last couple of years where it has been becoming more of an enjoyable strategy race.
Same as next week with Martinsville. It's an expectation going into it where you just gotta just brace yourself for set the bar low for Martinsville and maybe just maybe NASCAR will surprise us.
I tell you what though, I was pretty happy with the short track package at this track too. So I have a little bit higher hopes for Martinsville than I did when we went to Martinsville last year, at least. One thing I did want to say, I was listening to the morning drive. Getting ready for the show, and Mike Bagley brought up a point that I don't know. They're talking about NASCAR reviewing it and saying like, yeah, we're still gonna call it as a good restart, And of course, we all watched the video of the in-car from Martin Truex Jr. He called it super early. It's
as soon as they let off, Martin's like he jumped.
He definitely jumped. I just wonder if NASCAR is like, well, he jumped it too close to the line where he's like, we don't even want to get into that call. But then even the bagman brought up too. He's like Martin Truex Jr. and Joey Logano were hanging back a little bit too on that outside lane. So like, was Martin Truex Jr. kind of like playing games himself and holding back a little bit, trying to like roll the restart or maybe not spin his tires or something. So I don't know. I feel like there could have been a couple different factors that kind of fell into it. I still think they should have called it though. That's the thing.
I see where NASCAR is coming from, where they could say like, okay, like final restart to win the race. You're going to try to get as much as you can out of it. And as the control car, they gave Denny that benefit of the doubt.
Because he's the control. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where they're going with it. But they implemented a restart zone.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just a line, because if there was just a restart line, like that white line we're all looking at when in that in-car video, and we see Denny take off 10, 15 yards before that white line, the whole point is you want to play games. They gave them a area to play those games in.
It's like,
once
what,
you cross that first white line, once you cross that first white line, you have about 25 yards to play those games, where once you're in there now, I can hang back and I can wait till the last second to go, or I could go in the halfway. They gave them, that's the zone you play all the games that were played.
Yeah.
You do that before you get to that zone, I'm sorry.
Call it.
You'd call it.
Yeah.
If you're in that zone and Denny decided to go at the end of the restart zone and Truex mashed it beforehand, trying to time Denny, Truex is done for.
Yeah.
That's the zone.
That's why we have a zone.
Right. That's why you have a zone.
Have it.
Yeah. You want to go play games? Good. Go ahead. You think you could time my restart every time? Go ahead. Try to time it. Because if you time it wrong, you just jumped before the control car did. See you later, buddy.
Yeah.
They gave them that box as that opportunity. That's where you play the games. They didn't do that before. They did it before it. Denny, done. Actually, no. Take that back, scratch it, flip it, because the 22 would win the race if that happened. So I'm good with how everything came out.
It was funny though.
But seriously though, like it is clear that he started rolling before the zone.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's like, and NASCAR's like, well, we don't want to really interfere at that moment. It's the end of the race. We get it. No, like, dude,
be consistent.
No, this is when you interfere. You don't interfere when you're telling cars they have to switch over to dry tires or not. Like, no, that's not when you interfere. You interfere in these exact situations. You call it and say, listen, I know what you guys just saw on the TV, but Denny didn't win that race. He jumped the restart. Winner goes to second place.
Yeah. No, I agree.
This is almost
okay that it would have been Joey, but listen, that's
right. This is so big of a deal to me at this point, where if NASCAR doesn't comment about that in-car camera view video and come out with a statement on that video and an explanation on that video and the explanation of the rule in the rule book, even if they stick to their guns and explain why that they held up on it, fine, but they have to acknowledge this. If they don't acknowledge this and they just roll over, I'm sorry, but like, I'm a fan of this sport through and through, but I definitely lost a lot of respect for the people if they don't acknowledge this and actually make a statement on it. They don't have to change the race. Just acknowledge that you kind of screwed up. In the NFL, every Tuesday or Wednesday the referees come out, and as a fan, you don't want to fucking hear it because at the same time, you know that if the call was opposite the day that it happened, your team might win that game.
Yep.
So on that Tuesday, when you hear that the refs blew this call, that call, and you're like, what does that do after the fact?
Makes you
know
real
what I mean? But it's one of those situations where it's like you just want them to acknowledge that they screwed up so that next time down the road, there's some kind of accountability. Like, hey, we screwed up here. Oh, you tend to screw up a lot. Like, why are you screwing up this much? Like, there just needs to be some accountability in my eyes.
Listen, it's not unprecedented that they go back and they look an hour or whatever after the race and say, "Hey, winner disqualified," because they did that at Pocono. Yeah. Remember, it was Denny and it was Kyle who got disqualified. Third place Chase Elliott ended up getting awarded the victory there. So like you go back, you look at it, and you say, "Listen, we messed up. Our bad, but we're gonna take this win away from Denny. Congratulations, second place."
Yeah. I think because they already said they reviewed it and it was official, they can't take the win back. But at least they could say like, well, it was a close call. Maybe we shouldn't have. Just give me some sort of lip service. Give me an excuse.
Right,
something. Just something.
By them not, it makes it seem even guiltier.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, say something about it.
I know. Usually, I forget who the guy is who comes on the morning drive on Tuesday mornings from NASCAR.
Elton Sawyer.
He's was a vice president of competition for NASCAR or something like that. I forget the guy's titles change.
There's so many of them. I know.
But hopefully we'll see what he says on the morning drive on SiriusXM NASCAR radio tomorrow or Wednesday. Because I agree. I think they should at least acknowledge how close of a call it was, and that
it's so
maybe
viral.
they made the wrong
Everyone's
one.
watching that clip. That's what everyone's pointing to, is that clip. And it's like, you can't stop the internet when you go down that train. Once that's rolling and it's out there, PR, you have to do PR for the sport now. It's not just that race. This is PR for yourselves as the commissioner.
And then, like, everyone wanted to see the SMT data. Everyone's talking about Denny's podcast, what he's going to say today. I didn't get a chance to listen to it because
I didn't either.
I spent my whole afternoon watching the race over again, so I didn't get to listen to as many podcasts and media outlets as I normally do. But I'll catch up tomorrow. I'll let you guys know. And maybe I'll do some retweeting to let the listeners know. So make sure you follow us on Twitter at Bump the Letter and Run Podcast. Bump and Run Pod on Twitter. But you guys want to jump into the checkers and wreckers for the weekend?
3 wide for the lead. 1 lap to go.
It's this week's checkers and wreckers.
All right, and since we started with Daytona Ron for the race grades, we'll start with Matt the Statman Reilly for checkers and wreckers this week.
Hell yeah, man. All right. I've been waiting a little bit to do this, but I'm giving my checkers to Josh Berry, JB4, baby. He had a great race, and the race we all know he's capable of running. Early on in stage 1, he was the show. Started 30th and just kind of moved his way all the way up through the field, and quite literally moving people out of the way, knocked Daniel Suarez out of the way early on, and he was on a mission, man, and he got all the way up to second. And like I said earlier, behind MTJ, he was the second best car all day. So it was great to see. I just really loved seeing Josh maximize himself yesterday. And he's a short track guy. It's where he cut his teeth for most of his career. And so yes, he is probably going to succeed a little bit better at tracks like Richmond, Martinsville. He's probably going to do pretty decent up in New Hampshire as well. Yeah. Those are the types of tracks that you're going to see him succeed at. But it was really, really good to see. And we could talk about it, but my wreckers goes hand in hand with that, because my wreckers goes to his crew for that last pit stop around 50 or 60 to go. Yeah, give him a 15-second pit stop, which, as we just said, that's about 4 or 5 seconds too long. And, here we are, he's running back in the teens, and then he ended up finishing, I believe, 11th, but just, he could have been up there battling, especially because we got a late race caution. He could have had an opportunity to win the race if his pit crew just didn't screw him like that. So shitty to see, but, doesn't take away from the fact of what I saw yesterday was really, really encouraging if you're a Josh Berry fan.
Yeah, I was super impressed with his day too. Just showing up with a good car. Rodney and that Ford team, they brought a great car for Harvick last time we were at Richmond too. That was Harvick's last win. It wasn't Richmond last year. It was the year before that, right? Just a solid day for them. Again, heartbreaker on pit road. But those are the breaks. But it shows that the Fords are a little stronger on a short track. Not only did I notice it with him, but with the RFK cars. I was real nervous about Fords going into this race. I even texted you guys. I'm like, I wonder if we'll see anything happen. And the Fords seem to perform pretty well in general. So let's hope that's means good stuff for Josh Berry coming in the future for short tracks especially. So I think that's a great checkers and wreckers. How about you, Eric? What was your checkers and wreckers for the weekend?
Well, actually, I could lead right into off of Matt here with mine, because I gave my checkers to SHR. They finally are showing some life over there. We've been shitting on them and ragging on them for a year or more now. And kind of they got a spark with Noah Gragson, I think. He started running well, having some good runs in the beginning here in these few races, and that sparked a little something. Then in the last few weeks, you have Josh Berry having really good runs and running up front. And yes, there are some pit road things, but for most of the day, Noah Gragson was running really well yesterday. And as a whole, Berry 11th, Noah 12th, Briscoe in 18th. And Briscoe, he's been running well too as of late.
Briscoe's been running really 13th,
well, 13th. So they're all running within the that 10 to 15, range right now. And before they were in the 18 to 25 range. So, they found something. I think the Fords found something, like you said, Whitey. Going into this weekend, we didn't know how they would react. And like I said, could Chris Buescher when we were picking last week? And, I was kind of nervous too and stayed away from them. But, after what I saw, I think some team found something in the Ford camp, and it kind of is trickling its way around there because they were relevant for the first time in a while with cars running up front and not just on a weird strategy. No, this is a strategy race where you had to continually run up front. You had to be consistent, and they were. So, I just had to give props because we've been ragging on them for a while. I think SHR is, there's a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel there.
Yeah, and we've been talking about Noah, too, to your point in our group chat the last couple races, because he's been consistent in the top 10 for a lot of the day, most weeks, where, like, he's not running in the top 5, but he's in the top 10, and he's grinding out, and he'd be in a lot better position points-wise, too, but he had a pretty big points penalty, too, didn't he? Like, second or third week. It was like one of those greenhouse violations or something like that.
Yeah.
That's right, yeah.
So yeah, I agree. It is good to see Stuart Haas racing and just the Fords in general. How about your records? What's your records for the weekend?
My records actually goes to Truex Jr. for the after the race shenanigans. You never see that from Marty, and it's like that's just something that like I'm wrecking him for it because like I don't want to wreck him for things like this. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things where it's like someone you look up to does something, and you're like, oh no, you know what I mean? It's like, why did you have to do that? You know what I mean? Like it's just
like you're better than that,
Yes, it felt like it felt too like childish for a veteran like him, the oldest driver in the sport, to get his feathers ruffled like that and to do something so silly as to use your car and smash into not only one guy but multiple guys because you were upset. Like I get it. I get that he was upset. Your teammate just basically screwed you at the restart there. And you know what I mean? So it's just,
imagine
to me, that was just,
today.
It was un-Truex-like, which is why I had to do it. Cause it's like, man, Marty, leave that to other people. Don't be going and doing that shit. It reminded me of Denny Hamlin and Alex Bowman.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, what are you doing? Like, that's why everyone hated Denny for doing that. It's like, dude, you're just come on, like win, lose. I don't know. It just, to me, that was something Denny would have done. I'm wrecking him because it's not what Martin Truex does. And it was weird to see him act like that.
Super uncharacteristic. I just think that he knows that he's only got a year or two left. And I think he knows that the chances that wins are getting fewer and fewer and fewer. And I just think he's like, you know what? Fuck this. Like, I got fucked over again. And there's Larson. I'm going to take him out. There's Denny. I'm going to take him out.
The old Harvick move.
It was super uncharacteristic. And then he gets out and he gets interviewed and the microphone gets put in his face and he's normal.
Smiling, and he's like, nothing happened.
He's normal old Martin, we had a good day, good points day, and it's like, Martin, you just fucking took out two guys after the race.
That's what I'm like, dude. I'm like, I don't even think he realized what he did.
He just blacked out there.
And like, dude, that's like Larson even said. Larson was laughing. He's like, I know that he was just mad and I was there. You know what I mean? It was just kind of like, it is what it is. He goes, I'll talk to Marty. He goes, he'll tell me that exact thing. And like in his interview after, Truex basically said that. He goes, yeah, man, I feel bad. He goes, he was just kind of there. And I was just mad, and like he smiled about it. So it's like, why did you have to do that? You know what I mean? You could have just been yourself in your interview, won everybody over. Everyone was mad that you lost in the beginning. And it's like, that just put like it's just gonna, I don't know, rub me the wrong way.
I understand why he did it to Denny too. I think he had to get his frustrations out. And I think that's why he was able to smile on pit road where he's like, yeah, it sucks, but I got it out of me. I don't understand why he went after Larson the way he did. I didn't see anything.
Because he was the first person there. It was like my brother at Douse's the one night when him and Bernie, Bernie was just there, so my brother shoved him.
Yeah.
It's just like it happened. He's there, you're frustrated. And like, did he run everyone in those last, I don't know if you want to call it the Denny move or the Larson move.
Yeah.
Either one, everybody in the last two laps, they wash everybody up the racetrack. So, of course, yeah, they might have doored each other here and there. And it was just, when you're a frustrated driver and someone else accidentally washes you up a little bit, it didn't matter at that point. If that was Larson, if that was anybody, he was just going to smash into him, I feel like.
That's the thing, though. That happened after Truex already hit him, because Fox went back and showed a replay of like a green flag lap where Truex came down and just fucking doored Larson. Larson's like, what the fuck? So as they're coming through the tri-oval to the green, he pushed him up into him. And then they start beating and banging onto each other like crazy. I'm like, holy shit, like, what's going on here? And then all of a sudden you see him smash into the back of Denny. Denny, I understand, because like, if you didn't see the in-car of Martin Truex Jr., look it up on Twitter, because before he even gets to the Geico restart zone, Truex is on the radio going, Denny just jumped the restart. So like those 2 laps, that's just stewing in his brain. So I understand.
Right. Yeah, it's like
you get that full context. You completely agree with everything where his head was in those 2 laps. Yeah, you can't stop him from doing that.
But even last night, I was like, I don't understand why he went after Larson. Larson didn't do anything wrong in that one. Yeah. And I never defend Larson.
Exactly why, though. That was the funny part about it. He's like, I was just kind of there. He goes, it is what it is.
He goes, I get it. He's mad, And I think Larson took it on the chin, too, because he's like, listen, I got spun out and I still finished in a good position. So, like, he salvaged his day, And
he got lucky there because he was spinning on his own. Bubba didn't get into him only for the fact that he was so close to him going into the turn.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He was about to hit the wall regardless. Yeah. Because he got too tight. But yeah, I think that's why Larson was like, hey, man, I finished third. I was a position better than before the caution. So, like, I'm okay. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Larson's doesn't want any of that confrontation anyway.
No.
Whatchamacallit? Am I up with it? That was your records, right? MTJ?
Yeah.
All right. My checkers, I have to give it to the wet weather tires. This is the first real test of the wet weather tires on an oval. We saw it at the All-Star race last year, but this is like, I feel like more of a truer oval type with the banking and everything. And I thought it performed really well. We got some really cool racing in the beginning. We talked about the complaints with like the non-live pit stops. I wish there was live pit stops too. But other than that, I was really happy. I'm glad it worked, and I hope that NASCAR utilizes this in the future when we can, because like we said earlier, it might have only saved, 35, 45 minutes to an hour, but it did save time. And especially, I was listening to the morning drive and they were talking about, especially running like a 7:00 night race on a holiday. Like if that got delayed anymore, like could you imagine how mad people would be for, especially like prime time? Jordan Bianchi said it would probably get like knocked over to cable at some point if we didn't get it started until like 9 o'clock.
This is my point. I don't give a flying fuck about any of that shit.
Yeah.
If you're going to run a sport and worry about that type of stuff and rush your program through, you're phony. You're not real.
Then it's not about the competition. It's about just putting on a show.
It's about the show at that point. Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
But they want to say we're not WWE. Blow me.
Yeah, I understand that point of view. I get it. I want to get the show started as soon as you can, How many times have we sat around
but
for
how much
delays?
Did those decisions to throw those cautions
into that
let's
too?
Get out of here today come make that decision happen. That's what I'm saying. 1 week where it's a Saturday night race. We could be here for 42 years. Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
Throw caution. Nope. Let them run it again. Re-rack them and line them back up because we could be here all day long. Who gives a shit? Oh, but God forbid it's a race where there's a Sunday night. It's a holiday weekend. And now, oh shit, we're running late. There was rain. Oh my God. Oh, don't do that. Oh, we want to get out of here. Don't call that. Oh, call it. Oh, I don't know. You know they're like that. They're definitely changing the way they call a race depending on the race.
I genuinely think that the time, like the literal time, what time it was like 11 o'clock when Denny jumped the restart.
played into it.
Played into it like I don't know. Let's get the hell out of here. Like it's late. Let's get the hell out of here.
That is why I have a sour taste because I know it did.
I see that too. That you know what? I didn't think about it, but now that you bring it up, that's probably exactly why they didn't restart it all over again. Where it's like, hey, we're in the time window.
Same restart happened at lap 150. I think they call Denny.
Yeah, probably.
Right. Oh, 100% they do. That's what I mean. And like that's where I could see NASCAR's side why they're getting away with what they're saying. Yeah. Because it's the final restart. Like that was to win the race. So like they're using it as a scapegoat.
Don't care. I want consistency. I would prefer consistency.
No, I agree, man. Now you throw that out there, like that does change a lot of things too.
Put that tinfoil hat on.
I got it on, baby. But whatchamacallit, and my wreckers, I have to give it to C. Bell speeding off pit road. I'm not sure if that alternate strategy would have made the difference and worked and made him catch up to Martin Truex Jr. But to take yourself out of that chance to find out, like that's just it sucks. But like I don't know, I had to wreck him. But that's all I have for my checkers and wreckers. Let's go through the race notes because some guys we didn't really talk about. Joey Logano, I thought he had a really good day. He spent that whole third stage chasing down Martin Truex Jr. late. This is his best finish of the season with the second place and definitely needed it, especially for Penske. We've seen kind of Ryan Blaney be the one to run. He had a rough day.
Yeah. Oh my God.
But Logano made up for the difference. And then Kyle Larson getting third. He led twice for 144 laps. He dominated that whole first stage. I thought he had a great car too. Of course, got on a little different pit strategies and whatnot, but a great comeback after getting turned by Bubba, like we just said. Fourth place, Truex. Man, we talked about him all day long. And that's the most disheartening part too, where it's like, there's nothing to talk about the winner besides that final restart because Martin Truex Jr. and Kyle Larson absolutely dominated the whole entire day. You know, it was one of those two guys. Chase. Sorry, fifth place, Chase Elliott.
What happened there? I think Whitey just shorted out.
I did. No, you want to know what? Because I started reading my sixth place with Christopher Bell, and I realized we jumped over Chase Elliott in a fifth place finish, which is a great day that he needed too. I know a lot of Chase fans going to be happy after that performance. He didn't have a winning car or even like a winning strategy. So to get a fifth place finish, I thought that was pretty big deal for him. What do you guys think of the top five so far?
Yeah, I was shocked that Byron didn't have a better day either. Like they were kind of like, it was a weird day for Hendrick in a way where like the 48 actually was probably the best out of all of them, to be honest with you. But that first caution put him into the back and he never really recovered from that. And then he had a really slow pit stop that even put him back even farther trying to recover. And I really do believe that 48 would have been a car that could have really battled at the end there, if not for some of those cautions that ruined certain people's days where, you know, there's 5 or 6 cars that flipped to the back that never got an opportunity again to get back on their strategy. So that was a weird one that they didn't run too well to 24 either.
Yeah. William Byron, his average position was 11th. He ended up finishing 7th, which is a great finish. But
that's Jimmy Johnson-esque. What I tell you, he's running in the back. You don't hear from him all day. 7th place finish.
Yeah. That's exactly right. But seriously though, to your point, like he was like, I don't know if we talked about, like, I don't know if the booth talked about William Byron more than 20 seconds last night. You know, he was just non-existent. I expected more out of Tyler Reddick. I expected a little bit more.
I didn't.
What's up? You didn't?
No, Reddick is this was his first top 10 at Richmond. I wasn't even expecting a top 10 out of Tyler Reddick. I knew, like, oh man, his practice wasn't great. Qualifying was all right. I was like, I wasn't even looking at the Toyotas really much besides the Gibbs guys up front.
Right. Okay. But I think I was expecting a little bit more, like Eric, you just said, out of Bowman. There were a couple. Ty Gibbs. I expected a lot. I thought Ty Gibbs had a chance to win that race going into the. I literally bet on him because I thought he was going to have a great shot to win that, and he was just kind of non-existent too. I was shocked he disappeared there. So Yeah, a couple guys that I expected a little bit more out of.
For the Bowman thing too, they even mentioned it on the broadcast. Harvick and Clint Boyer were talking about how good his car was and how instrumental it was to keep him a lap down. That's why Truex was racing him so hard at the end of that stage.
Yeah, the end of stage 2. Yeah,
and like he got him by like a foot, and that was it. And like that just destroyed Bowman's day.
That's a KG vet move. I remember saying that last night to you guys. Like that's just a KG vet move where he knows that 48. If he leaves him in contention, he could be there at the end. It was smart.
Yeah. And then the RFK guys finishing 8th and 9th place, Brad Keselowski and Chris Buescher respectively. But yeah, that's what I got for the top 10. You guys have anything else to add to the race?
I just want to say Kyle Busch, man, like he's struggling. Just not. He's like that whole RCR. I was gonna wreck them as my records was RCR because I just feel like they, besides like super speedways, I think these normal cookie cutter bulk of schedule racetracks that we're starting to go to, they finish like 20th or worse. Yeah. And it's just, that's even Kyle Busch I'm talking about. We know Austin Dillon's going to, but like Austin Dillon sitting at 28th, Kyle Busch still 13th, but like, man, it just seems like something is off in that organization. Like I'm getting the petty feel of like, they're there just making money. And it's like, I don't know. Something is off with that team right now. Like I heard like arguing amongst Austin Dillon and his crew chief, where it was kind of like some back and forth of same thing every week. We never have a plan, never do anything crazy, like blah, 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 same shit. Like, I don't know. So it just seems to me like if you can't even get one car, Kyle Busch driving it to get it together on a week-to-week basis, like, I don't know, something's up down there in that camp. It just doesn't seem.
Agreed.
I agree. Whatchamacallit, they were talking about just RCR's short track package in general has never really been the best the last couple of seasons. But yeah, like you saw, like you said, the Austin Dillon drama where his grandfather basically said like, well, there's nothing we can do about it right now, so just drive the fucking car.
That was it. Yeah.
Where he was like sitting in 32nd. But yeah, I don't know what's going on with Kyle Busch and just RCR as a whole. I wrecked them a couple of weeks ago because of that same issue. So I don't know. Something's got to be figured out. And you can't even say it's a Chevy thing either, because Hendrick's running just fine. You know, like their guys, like 2 guys are usually up front. The other 2 are like a little miss, but like.
Right. Man. So is it like, okay, so we saw that the Fords, they caught something. They must have, like, you even saw little bits the last couple weeks of them maybe finding something out. Now, is that a Ford thing or is it a team thing? Like, is RCR, did they not find out what it is that makes this next gen car handle and speed? What is that good balance? I think some teams found out what they need to have the balance of handling and speed.
Yeah.
And some teams are just a little bit behind on that. And obviously the Fords are behind on the handling part. They had the speed. They would qualify and start in the top 10, 2 every weeks. And it's just like the handling during the entirety of a race is where they fell off. So I'm wondering if it's necessarily like a manufacturer speed thing, or if it's just something amongst the setups that is making its way through the whispers of the garage.
I don't know, because like RCR is a tier 1 Chevy team. You'd think they'd be getting all the same like manufacturer resources and stuff. And like, even to your point, like maybe they didn't figure out the next gen car. They designed the next gen car in the RCR building, essentially, you know? So I think they had a leg up on everybody for a little bit. They just weren't able to take advantage of it, you know?
Yeah.
So like, I don't know, maybe it is like individual teams just outperforming. I don't know. We'll see. We'll keep an eye on Kyle Busch throughout the rest of the year. I don't expect anything from Austin Dillon, although he does run pretty well at Martinsville, so maybe we'll see some brilliance next weekend out of him. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
I forget if it was during practice or qualifying. Someone made a hint towards Austin Dillon, like maybe hanging it up soon. It was like an in-passing comment where they're like, "Oh, we don't even know how much longer Austin Dillon's going to be out there for." It was something like that, and then like the conversation kept going. I was like, wait a second, like
that's interesting.
Austin Dillon's not anywhere near the age where like we're questioning,
like
retirement. So, but then again, we've even said it on this show. Like we know, like is his head even fully in it? He's doing that PBR thing on the side, which I think NASCAR has always just been like something to fucking line his pocket so he can do all those other things that he wants to do.
He's got like his management company.
Clearly,
and stuff.
he doesn't. He rips off a win. What one every 3 seasons, 4 seasons. He sneaks a win out. Like Austin Dillon had so much hype behind him that I just think it's time for go down to the Xfinity Series, buddy. Like I don't know. It's Grandpa's ride, so I think he's on his own terms there.
And you want to what? That's why I have to give all the credit in the world to Ty Gibbs right now, because he's in Grandpa's ride too, but he's performing really well. Yeah. Where like you could put him in any ride and he's going to be a great driver. You know, you can't take Austin Dillon and put him in a Gibbs car and he starts rattling off top 5s out of nowhere. I just don't see it happening. You know, but other than that, that's all I have for this week in NASCAR. Let's see. Every week, every Monday, people love to talk about the winner one, Denny Hamlin. We didn't really talk about Denny this week. We talked more about Martin Truex Jr. because he should have won. But here on the N Run Podcast, we love to talk about the loser, and that was one Corey LaJoie. Hold on, because I gotta.
And this isn't an April Fool's joke. He did come in last. He finished 3 laps down in 36th. His Spire teammate Zane Smith also finished 3 laps down in 35th. No issues on pit road for them. No engine troubles. No accidents. They just flat out finished last. And that's all I got.
That's all he deserves to be talked about.
I saw someone tweeted, someone better get Zane Smith a better car before he starts having the Noah Gragson,
the downfall, like just
the downfall. Yeah, just like getting in your own head. Like you can't let this happen to another race car driver. Like you just can't. We thought Noah's was bad. Like there's been some people this year that it's like, oh no, I think it's worse than Noah.
I meant to bring that up when we were talking about SHR during the checkers and wreckers, how you gave him the checkers, because like what a drastic difference Noah's having this year versus last year, where he was finishing multiple laps down, getting in fights on pit road with Ross Chastain because he's getting used up, cutting his hair into a dumb bowl cut. Like you don't make those
tell the kid was going through some shit.
He was going through it. He was going through it.
You don't make those life decisions that he made last season if you're running consistent in the top 10, you know? So
he made some very questionable life decisions last year.
Yeah, you know what? I'm here for all of them. Because it makes his, what is it? The character arc, you know what I mean? It's just another layer of him. He's already had 50 layers going through the Xfinity in his career so far. And it's like, how much more could this guy do? Push the limit, Noah. He just keeps pushing the limit.
That motherfucker got a straight up bowl cut. Like the worst 90s
and got
bowl
punched
cut.
in the face on live TV.
Slugged in the face. Oh my God!
But we're going to Martinsville, baby.
That's right.
You took a sledgehammer to a tire. That's the sound it made.
Oh my God!
He got punched in the face.
And the best part is he was going to throw one too, and his got grabbed by the security guy, and then all of a sudden,
just eating it.
That was the epitome. That was exactly that was a perfect figuration of what was going on in his life at that point.
Glad to see Noah back running well. But anyways, like Eric said, we're on to Martinsville.
The next NASCAR Cup race. It's the weekend preview.
And we're staying in the state of Virginia. We're heading out west to Martinsville. And we got trucking back, baby. We got a trucking Friday night, 7:30 on FS1 for the Long John Silver's 200. Well, LJS, baby. Unfortunately,
That's the perfect. That's the perfect name for a truck race.
unfortunately, we're a week after Lent, so I think we're gonna have to get some chicken planks.
If you go through and you look at some of the sponsored races for the truck series, it's amazing. It's amazing. It's amazing.
But yeah, it's the Long John Silver's 200.
Oh my God.
So, do you know why there's so much Long John Silvers in NASCAR? Because Michael McDowell had the Long John Silver's car at Richmond this past week.
He did, yeah.
It's because the owner of Front Row Motorsports owns.
In 2 weeks from now in Texas, it's the SpeedyCash.com 250.
So the owner of Front Row Motorsports, who owns Michael McDowell's car, he's a franchisee of Long John Silver's in A&W. He's got like 150 locations. So I'm pretty sure he's sponsoring this truck race.
He is Long John Silver.
He is Long John Silver's. And those front row trucks, I don't know how they've been doing this year, but if a front row truck doesn't win the Long John Silver's 200 this Friday night at 7:30 on FS1, I'm going to be super disappointed. And then Saturday night, we have another night race on Saturday night, 7:30 on FS1 for the Dude Wipes 250 for after you get those Long John Silver shits on Friday night. Head on over, grab some Dude Wipes for Saturday.
That's sponsor engagement at its finest right there, baby.
It really is. And then Cup on track Sunday at 3:00 on FS1 for the Cookout 400. We're heading back into to cable territory. All the races have been on Fox since up until now, but we're switching over to FS1. So make sure you tune in to FS1 3 p.m. on Saturday for the Cup race. The Cookout 400. And fellas, to go over our picks from last week, we have our third win of the season, an exacto for one. Eric Dovin, he told you to pick Denny Hamlin, and he got you that win, 46 points. Matt.
Needed that. I needed that.
Unfortunately, you didn't win the weekend, though, because Matt picked Martin Truex Jr. Martin Truex Jr. got Matt 50 points.
Stage points.
He had those stage points, so Matt picks first. Matt picks last. Eric, you picked second because you picked Denny Hamlin, and I picked Alex Bowman, who got pinned a lap down early on. He got me 28 points, and we are headed to Martinsville. Oh, we were just talking about this guy. We call him Slick Willie 2 Clocks because he's won a shit ton of clocks in Martinsville. Unfortunately, he didn't have the best Richmond, and I'm getting a little scared, so I'm going and I'm dipping back into Old Faithful. I'm picking Christopher Bell to win the Martinsville weekend.
I saw an interesting fact on Twitter today. Trey Ryan, I don't know if you guys follow him on Twitter.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of his stuff.
Yeah, great stat guy on Twitter. He posted something about back-to-back winners.
Yeah.
In NASCAR. And it happens on average 5 times per year. Someone will go back to back.
Okay.
The only current active driver is Kyle Busch that has back-to-back wins. In the next gen car, though, it's only happened 3 times ever.
Okay.
Someone going back to back.
I remember Harvick was one.
So as much as I want to pick Denny Hamlin again to go back to back, I can't. It just with this next new car, it doesn't happen all that often.
Yeah.
So you got to go with the next best thing. What did we talk about? Who has speed? Who's been gaining speed over the next couple of weeks here? Who had his best finish? And who has the current longest top 10 streak at Martinsville? Who has, in the last 2 out of 4 races, been the runner-up at Martinsville? The one and only nemesis of the Daytona Ron, the 22 of Joey Logano.
Yeah. I think it's a good pick. I mean, the Fords on that short track last week, I think it's going to resonate this week, too.
Now, do you think 5 times a year is a little or a lot for back-to-back winners? I think 5 is a lot in a year, isn't it? Or no?
I think that's a lot.
I think that sounds like a high number.
Yeah. No, but you want
to. Who did you take?
What's that?
Who did you
Joey
take?
Logano.
No, Whitey.
Oh, I picked Christopher Bell.
Okay.
Originally want to pick Willie Two Clocks, but he didn't run well at Richmond, so I'm going with Bell. Whatchamacallit? You gotta think though, how many times did Larson win 2 races in a row, and then Harvick would win 2, and then Denny would win 2 in a row? I feel like 5 is a lot, but I could see it happening over a 36 race season. So yeah. But now you mentioned
it only happened 3 times ever in the next gen era. That's pretty wild.
And I think Harvick had one, Buescher had one. Who was the third? I'm not sure. Had to be like Hamlin or someone, right?
No, was it Blaney last year?
Could have been, yeah. Did he? No, he didn't win Martinsville. Did he win Martinsville last year?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay, so there you go. That's the 3. Interesting. A lot of 2 Fords there. 3 Fords. It's Fords. Just saying.
I'm seeing Whitey's brain the gears just started going.
Yeah, I don't know. But, I'm thinking that Logano's a better pick. How about you, Matt, though? Who are you going with? All right, I'm going with Ryan Blaney. I like it.
Damn it. I didn't know if you guys knew if I was terrible audio joke. I pretended like I was talking. Nah, I wasn't on mute. Yeah, I'm going with Ryan Blaney. He's the last 4 races at Martinsville, he has finished in the top 10. He's got 3 top 5s. He's got that win that we just talked about. He's also got the most points accumulated over the last 4 races at Martinsville with 176. That's 21 more points than the next guy, which is Denny Hamlin. I know Fords haven't been where they want to be up to this point in the season. And honestly, I in my heart of hearts, I wanted to pick Blaney, but I wasn't sure because of how bad Ford has been. But once Eric took Logano, I'm like, all right, I'm taking Blaney. Let's roll with this. So Fords?
I like it. I'm optimistic with the Fords after watching Richmond. We will find out, though. Our playoff picture, we're 7 races into the 2024 season. Your playoff picture, William Byron with 2 wins, Daniel Suarez with 1, Kyle Larson with 1, Christopher Bell with 1, and Denny Hamlin with 2 wins. Can Bell get his 2nd win of the season? Can Ryan Blaney get his 1st win of the season? Or could Joey Logano get his 1st win of the season? We will find out this Sunday, 3 p.m. on FS1 for the Cookout 400, and we'll break it all down for you right here next Monday night on the Bump and Run podcast. For Matt the Statman Reilly, for Eric Daytona Ron, I'm Michael D. White saying have a good night. The Bump and Run!
There it is.